Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily D. If you like these videos, please go down below and subscribe to the page so you get the most up-to-date videos. I think we're releasing them a day behind, so if you want to be ahead, grab and of course subscribe. Alright, today's topic is habits. Now habits is defined as a practice or it's a settled practice or tendency, usually hard to give up. So what that means is it's an act or an action or it's a systematic step, if you will. And I say systematic because most of us have an approach to something that you do regularly. And we all have habits. I mean, there's habits that are good, there's habits that are bad. There's just habits in general. And when I think about habits, this came to me last night in my sleep. It's so weird, but this morning I woke up, and as soon as I awakened, the last thing I could recall from my dreams or from my memory was poor habits make poor people. Or actually, it was poor habits keep poor people poor. Poor habits keep poor people poor. And I kept on thinking about that as I got out of bed, I rolled out of bed, and all those things. I was just, why is that stuck in my mind? And the only thing that could come to mind as to why that is because last night for dinner, I've been trying to break my habits of eating bad. And I don't mean like horribly bad, but I know when I can do better. And that's a habit that I have. I know what I like to eat, right? Everybody knows what they like to eat. Everybody loves the good food. And I was trying to replace it with better food, right? And I had this meal preps that I've ordered, and I've been trying to eat them religiously. And last night I kind of gave in, and I said, "Hey, let's get a chicken sandwich." And I did better by ordering or making some fries here that are air fried, so it's a lot healthier than the fries from a regular fast food restaurant. But I know I ate wrong. Like, I know I ate bad, and I know it's not because I ate so horrible. It's because I could have done better. And I consider that a poor habit. I consider that habit of going to a comfort zone, if you will, my tendency to go back to something, is a poor habit. And I think that's really why I had that epiphany in my mind, or that dream in my mind overnight. It's poor habits keep poor people poor. And I'll tell you that this isn't, of course, just to talk about nutrition, but think about it this way, right? Most people who can't control their hands to mouth, meaning how they eat, what they eat, the times that they eat, the quality of the food they eat. Most people who can't control this, right, can't control, I wish I had my wallet, but can't control how they spend money. Or they can't control how they spend their time. Because if you can't control this one thing that's attached to your body, how do you think you're going to control a lot of other things? And so what I noticed is, poor people who have poor habits usually have poor diets, usually have poor saving habits, or spending habits actually. And so I have this innate urge, right? My parents, for an example, didn't teach me about savings. They didn't teach me about nutrition. They didn't teach me about relationships. I learned all those things through observation. Now, my parents weren't big spenders, but it's because we didn't have money. My parents weren't great eaters. That's because we didn't have money, so we ate whatever, beans and rice and the things that we would eat. And my parents, had a great relationship, but it wasn't amazing, but it was good. And I got to observe all those things, right? And so every time that I want to eat, I fall back to the tendencies of, what I was brought up in, the habit of eating beans and rice and eating tortillas, right? Those are habits. Or the habit of, I don't make a lot of money, and then when I did start making money, I was wanting to spend it all, right? And the habit of, our relationships are supposed to be just what they are, and accepting that. And those are poor habits in my opinion, and I have to break those habits. And so nobody taught me these things. What I had to do, or what I've had to do, because I still have some of these poor habits, is I've got to learn to have a conscience and understand that conscience is something that makes me, or it's going to make me, or it's going to break me. And so poor habits, I really want you to get this, and I'm just kind of sharing a lot of my stories because these are struggles that I've gone through. Today, when it comes to nutrition, the only thing that tells me to eat better is me. There's nobody in my life that's rooting me on. My wife obviously is helping me by making sure I have meal preps. But she's not there to tell me, David, you can or can't eat this. I mean, maybe she's tried in the past, and maybe I wasn't as nice as I needed to be. But today, obviously, if she told me, I'd probably listen. Nobody's there to tell me how to spend or my money. It's only as much as discipline as I want to put into it. But I do know this, is that what I want to do every day is I want to make smart decisions. And so every time I buy something, if it's a major purchase, I like to weigh out my options. Now, I'm not going to tell you I always make smart decisions, but I'll tell you that for a long time I did. I had to, because it was the only way to survive. Today I may have what's called excess cash that I could spend on things that I probably want instead of need. But there was a long time where I had to discipline myself. And the way I would do that is I would look for deals. I would save money. I would try to figure out how I could get the same result but with less resources, which is money. I did a lot of that for a long time in order for me to be here. Now, how did I learn that? Well, I didn't necessarily have to learn it. And it was a requirement in order for me to get ahead. It was a requirement for me to live, right? And in my relationship today, I try my best to communicate with my wife, and I try my best to do things together, and I work my way through this. And every day I ask myself, am I doing my best? And habits really are hard to break, guys, especially if you've had them all your life. But poor habits make poor people poor, keep poor people poor. You know, the habit of doing drugs, or the habit of smoking, the habit of drinking every weekend, the habit of watching TV or too much TV, the habit of eating potato chips, these are bad habits, and we fall to them. Mine's a bad habit of eating tortilla chips. I love tortilla chips, right? I love salsa. I love pico de gallo. I love avocado. So these are my poor habits, and I've got to break them. Now, that doesn't mean that, by the way, it's a regular tendency to go to something, right? It's a regular activity. So it doesn't mean that you have to quit everything altogether, because that's a hard deal to do. That's why people can't succeed. For an example, a habit of smoking, people just can't quit. Why can't they quit? Because it's very difficult. It's painful. So you have to gradually phase yourself off, and you have to find ways or things that you can incorporate into your life that replace that poor habit. And it takes time. It takes time to do this. You know, I used to be a smoker. I smoked for 10 years. I quit smoking. You know, that right there, by the way, whenever you can get rid of a poor habit that you know you have, man, does it make you feel confident. Just recently, just to be clear, I want to show you, I mean, it's kind of not perfect, but my hands, okay, just to give you all some insight. I've been a nail biter all my life, literally 36 years probably. I mean, I'm assuming that I was biting my nails when I got out of the womb, and that's what I feel like, right? So for 36 years, I was a nail biter. And just over the last month or so, or 2 months, I've really stopped that habit. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm completely over it. It just means that I've been consciously making a decision to stop doing that. And the way I've done that is through reinforcement, right? Reinforcement means I've got a number one. So first thing that you need to do is have an anchor point, if you will. Number one thing you need to do to get rid of a bad habit is have an anchor point. What's the anchor point? Meaning every time that you're about to do something that you know you shouldn't do because it's a poor habit, you've got to remind yourself not to do it by doing something else. So what I do is usually I'll pull this right here and I'll say, I can't do it, right? Whenever I'm about to bite my nail, I pull my bracelet, right? Pull my bracelet. I do that pretty often. It's one thing. It's an anchor point. It reminds me not to do it. It's like, okay, don't do it. And usually with this anchor, I tie it to something as a reason, a why, right? So if I tie this and I say, why don't I bite my nails? And my wife was very, very quick to remind me that people don't want to do business with people with poor nails. And I said, that's silly, right? But it makes sense. People don't want to do business with people with poor nails. It's interesting, huh? I mean, do you want to do business with somebody with poor nails? I know that sounds bad, but I mean, can I go to the bank and sign a check, or can somebody ask me for a contract for $1 billion and they look at my nails and say, gosh, this guy's nails are horrible. He bites his nails so hard. And I thought, yeah, you're right. I can't look like that. I got to change that habit, right? I've also thought about the things that's anchor points, which is this. So I think about that every time I do it. So you got to have an anchor. You got to have a reason why. And then last but not least here is whenever you want to get rid of a bad habit, you got to replace it with a good habit. And so every time I feel like I'm going to bite my nails, for an example, not only do I do this to remind myself, what I do as soon as I'm about to start doing this activity, if you will, I remind myself of something good, which I need to do, which my protein count. It's kind of funny, but I'll say, okay, I need to get my protein in, because every day you've got to get at least 70 to 80% of your weight in grams in protein. So I always try to hit that, but I'm trying to go to 100%. So I'm trying to stay at 180-ish to get that every single day. And so right then and there, whenever I think of that, I say, okay, I got to stop eating. I got to figure out how much protein I've consumed today, and I got to make it. So it's kind of weird, but this is what I've done. You can replace this with anything. For an example, if you were a smoker, instead of smoking, chew some gum. Remind yourself why you shouldn't smoke. And most people, very simple, for my health, for my children, for my future. And then what I do is I try to do something productive instead of doing that activity, which is maybe you need to work out, or maybe you need to do a pull-up or a push-up. You can do those things, right? I used to do push-ups instead too as well. So anyways, I hope this helps you in some respects. I wanted to talk this through because I think poor habits are things that kill us, right? And a habit is something repeated daily, or practiced daily rather. And I'll tell you this, it's easy to have good habits, but it's just as easy to have bad habits. It's easy to do good things, it's just as easy to do bad things. It's easy to eat an apple, but it's also easy to eat a candy bar. And remember that poor habits consistently put through or put out there consistently deliver poor results. Good habits deliver great results or good results. And if you don't change your habits, what happens is we end up finding reasons why we're making excuses why we didn't succeed, but really it's just a matter of our habits. So I hope this gave you some insight. I may do another video on this because I feel like it's a very important topic, but I appreciate you watching. Wish you health, success, wealth, and most importantly, freedom. And click below to subscribe. Bye-bye.